Hi, I'm Ian with Open Chain for my last rant of the day. Got a bit of time today because it's my happy Friday. Every other second Friday I get off, and because I've just started this YouTube channel, I want to try and get a few videos in there so it's not one of these things where it's new and there's nothing in there. So anyways, I should have mentioned this like 5 videos before. I swear a lot. I swear constantly, because a lot of the times I'm posting stuff on YouTube is to kind of rant and vent and stuff like that. So if you object to coarse language, I would direct you perhaps to a different channel, because I tend to swear a lot and can do so effectively, by the way, in 5 languages. Anyways, so what I want to ramble on about now is Etsy. Is it good? Is it bad? I call Etsy a necessary evil for a lot of us. Especially those in North America. I don't really know like I said before, I've kind of done my own stuff trying to grow my business kind of half-assed because I rely more heavily on my actual day job. This I do for fun. It'd be great if I could kind of grow it, but I'm not kind of like hitching my wagon to any hopes on that. So, I do it because I enjoy it. I love it. I continue to do so. If it grew into something where I could do it full-time, great. If not, that's life. Anyways, I don't know what the European equivalent of Etsy is because I've not, to be fair, really avidly pursued that avenue. I do know that the majority of my supporters and customers thus far have come out of North America, not all, but the majority. I believe because Etsy is the prominent platform for independent sellers and entrepreneurs and whatnot in the artistic community in Canada and the US. Etsy, is it good, is it bad? Well, I'm kind of just trying to be cute and funny when I say good or bad, but at the end of the day, and I've mentioned this before in a couple previous videos, the people who are absolutely making money in the area of independent artists, want to be an actually professional full-time working artists, are people like Etsy and PayPal and so on and so forth. And the reason is because there's a lot of people who may not necessarily earn sufficient income to work full-time, pursuing their love and their interests and so on and so forth. But when you have companies like Etsy or eBay or wherever people decide to sell their wares, they're guaranteed to make money, regardless of whether or not you profit off that or not. So again, it's sort of like a food chain. Think of like Etsy as sort of like up there, if not at the top of the food chain, because regardless if you're successful or not, you're paying to be there. So they're absolutely guaranteed to earn money off that. And in that sense, from a business perspective, it's actually kind of genius. So I've talked about this with my wife a number of times. If like a really smart person was not interested in the art or the creativity, but strictly on being industrious and actually like a profitable business, that type of person, not judging, I'm just saying, that type of person would be really smart to focus on catering to schmucks like us that are trying to sell our art, wares, products, services, and whatnot on the internet, because that's where the real money is. So anyways, aside from that, Etsy is not evil. They're just super smart, and they're kind of in a no-lose situation because, again, like I said, regardless of we're successful or not, they're making money off us either way. My experiences with Etsy, when I've got a little burst, when I've got a little bubble where I've managed to sell a few pieces in the course of a month, Etsy's a godsend. When I go for a couple months and there's not really any interest in the pieces I have currently available, I don't sell anything for a while, I hate Etsy because I got to pay them monthly no matter what. So then I kind of think they're a piece of shit, I curse their existence, so on and so forth. But when I kind of calm down and I think about it, at the end of the day, Etsy is more good than evil, 100%. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, probably my biggest reason for this is that it's one of the easiest ways to list your products, your jewelry, your pottery, whatever it is you're trying to sell, simply and easily online, without question. The second reason is because of their secure payment system. It's actually extremely easy. They do all the heavy lifting when it comes to the payment, let's just say that. So when you are fully registered with Etsy, not just you can do it through PayPal. There's 2 ways you can do Etsy. You can do it so you're just set up through PayPal, that's fine. That's the easier way to do it, obviously. But the problem with that is then you can only sell through PayPal. I have noticed a difference because I've done both, and I feel like when you're doing only PayPal through Etsy, you're kind of limiting the total number of people you can reach. In other words, there's a lot of people out there that might have purchased your product if they could have used something other than Etsy, like I don't know, debit or Visa, MasterCard, whatever. So with secure payment, you need to do a bank verification. It's not a really big deal to do that actually. It's a little bit of extra legwork, but it's nothing dramatic at the end of the day. And once you've completed that step, you can actually take pretty much any kind of payment available that anyone can use online. And giving your supporters, your customers, the ability to pay any way they want really kind of broadens your demographic as far as people who are going to be more likely to buy something from you. There's no question about that. I've tested this, I've tried this, no question about it. Secure payment option through Etsy is the way to go. Because a lot of people still do buy through credit cards, not necessarily through PayPal, is tied into their bank account, so on and so forth. So it's a way to get more people who can purchase online from you. There's no question about that. It's ridiculously easy, simple, straightforward. And you don't have to deal with any of that. It's all handled internally through Etsy. You just basically sign up, you give them this, you give them that, do-de-do. It's all handled through them. It's basically idiot-proof once it's set up. And the setup is, like I say, it's a few extra steps, but it's nothing dramatic. So that's fantastic. The other thing is, of course, theoretically, anyone like myself could say, okay, I'm going to just go solely through Instagram, and I'm going to tell them they can direct message me and pay me direct through PayPal. Can work. I have not done that yet thus far. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. And this is again why I think Etsy is a better option. I myself would be, especially after a rather shitty experience I had a couple years ago, rather dubious of once again purchasing something like this, not from a company, but rather from an individual independent artist, using direct payment through PayPal. I had an experience, I won't get the whole story, but it's a whole other diatribe, but a very favorite artist of ours, as a gift for my wife, I decided to commission a portrait, okay? So I paid this artist, but not through like PayPal payment to a company, but rather send money to a friend kind of a thing, because it was an independent artist. I had to really pull teeth and get to the point where I was basically making threats to get this guy to follow through on his commitment to me. And it was a real horrible experience from start to finish. And at the end of the day, when it got to the point where I kind of said, look, this is not happening. I spent, by the way, a shit ton of money on this. And just said, forget it, I just want my money back. I was really disappointed. We've got books from this artist, books of art. He wasn't just some schmuck. He was an established artist, but still working independently. And I found out that if you need to get your money back, if you're in a position where you're seeking a refund from an independent artist to whom you've paid, like send money to a friend, PayPal will not help you. Like if you do it to a company, if you pay direct with PayPal to a company, it's a bit of a different story. There's some buyer protection there. But when you do send money to a friend and you say, hey, look, you know what? This guy ripped me off, I think. I want my money back. It was a shit ton of money. PayPal just kind of says, not our problem. So that can be a really shitty situation. At the end of the day, I finally, after a lot of angry emails and whatnot, got the piece I paid for. It's still sitting on my shelf here. I still have kind of a sour taste in my mouth about the whole thing, and it's just really shitty situation, and I would not wish that on anybody. So to this day, I'm still rather dubious of buying stuff from artists I like online using PayPal Direct, because there really isn't sort of a buyer protection kind of thing, and I'm kind of paranoid about that. And maybe I shouldn't be, but I absolutely understand people who are a bit paranoid about that. And I love the fact that I can give my supporters, my customers, total confidence, total buyer protection, the ability to get a refund, the ability to track their order from start to finish. Does it cost me a bit more? For sure. But at the end of the day, if you want to be successful doing this whatsoever, there has to be customer satisfaction. End of the day, period, end of story. You can't leave people hanging. And Etsy makes it easy, so unbelievably easy to do that. And it boils down once again to like, what's your time worth? Do you want to spend your time at your workbench working on your pieces, working on your pottery, working on your knitting, working on your music, or do you want to spend time with all the bookkeeping shit? Which would you rather do? Because at the end of the day, you need to do both. If you want to be successful in business, in any kind of business, you have to be proficient at both. And Etsy, like I say, gives you, really, when you calculate it out, a relatively economic way to kind of take away the heavy lifting from that and allow you to focus on what you love doing. And honestly, like I said before, there are times where I've been a little frustrated because I haven't seen the results I'd like to see. But at the same time, I can't really blame Etsy for that, because it's like actually renting a storefront, not having any foot traffic in your store, not having any business, going out of business in 2 months and blaming the realtor because the store didn't work. You still, like, Etsy just basically gives you that storefront online. They're not responsible for getting you eyeballs on you, getting you foot traffic, so on and so forth. Having said that, there is another really awesome feature of Etsy that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with, and that's Etsy promoted listings. Now, my sole online presence outside of Etsy is through Instagram, and I've said this before once again in other videos, because I have a finite amount of time, and if I was going to pick one social media outlet, it's Instagram, period, done. Etsy has this kind of cool feature called promoted listings. And it allows you to basically select, I believe it's between a minimum of $2 US per day maximum budget up to, I think, 10 or whatever dollars maximum per day. And that basically takes people that are coming and searching through neat, cool things on Etsy and kind of helps direct them towards your Etsy shop. Now, the cool thing about Etsy promoted listings is this. You have the flexibility to choose the amount you want to spend. So for example, if I pick right now $2 maximum per day, that means at most for this promoted listings feature, I'll pay 60 US a month at most, but probably not even that much necessarily. There's no contract, there's no contractual obligations. You can change it any day. If you decide to try it for a week, I don't like it, you can set it to 0, turn it off. If you decide you like it and you want to up it to $10 during, before Christmas or something, you can do that, and then reduce the amount you spend right after. It's entirely up to you. It's very open and flexible. It's pretty cool that way. In spite of the fact that I've kind of thrown all my eggs into the Instagram basket, I have noticed that while I think Instagram helps, I kind of actually know it helps a little bit. At the end of the day, up to this point, the majority of the sales I have made that I know of through what little bit of researching and like all the different little graphs and doodads and what I've seen between Instagram and my Etsy shop, is that the majority of my sales are still coming directly through Etsy. That is to say, I have more sales coming directly from Etsy via promoted listings than I'm getting from all the efforts. And like I say, 90% of the time I spend promoting myself is on Instagram. And yet I'd say less than 10% of the sales I'm making come from Instagram, rather from Etsy, from this promoted listings thing, is easily 9/10 of the sales I make, which requires no effort on my part, rather spending a bit of extra money to promote it. I did get a little bit fed up because I had sort of a slow period here. I think it's just the pieces I've been putting out lately aren't as interesting as the ones I've been doing previously. I honestly don't know. So I kind of got frustrated and fed up and kind of shut off my Etsy promoted listings because of the fact that I was still paying this like pretty nifty bill every month, but I wasn't getting any sales. And then I noticed that, your Etsy likes or whatever, someone favorites your item, went from like, pretty consistent, like 1-2 a day down to like nothing. And so I kind of recently turned it back on and noticed almost immediately, haven't had another sale from that since then, but I've definitely noticed that my favorited my shop, favorited your item have definitely gone up since I put my Etsy promoted listings back up to the minimum, which is $2 a day, which again, it's a complicated bidding system. I don't pretend to even really totally understand it myself, but basically what that says, it'll do this software-based sort of auction for ad space or spots or views, all automated, all software-based, up to a maximum of $2 a day. So at most, when you select $2 a day, you might spend $60 a month, but Probably realistically not necessarily. So Etsy, a super platform. I think it saves a lot of time and money. Easy to kind of like demonize them as being big evil corporate business taking advantage of us poor creative types, but at the end of the day, it is the most practical solution. I don't really know of another better one at this point, and absolutely highly recommend Etsy. I highly recommend promoted listings. I would suggest definitely not more than about $2 a day for the promoted listings. I would absolutely not promote Google Shopping. I've had literally no success with that. And I wish you all the best of luck. And if you haven't already, I recommend you absolutely give that a try. And remember, it pays for itself in terms of the security and peace of mind just based on secure payment and shipping tracking alone. Period. Done. So I hope that you find that useful. Thank you.